Italia!
Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome to the Milan 360 pod with your hosts, me, Shane, coming from my beautiful, not sunny apartment in Malaga, Husney over in Malaysia, and John over in the UK. So, yeah, quite a bit to cover for you today. Obviously, shout out to the guys doing like really enjoyable pod covering the Tonali betting situation last week. So, we're coming at you today with our thoughts on the Juve fiasco, the PSG game, and looking ahead to Napoli. So I guess, Hosni, what you want to do? Do you want to take it away?
Sure, Shane. Yeah. We got a show for you guys here today, and it's good to be back after since our last stream, which happened during the international break. A few games to recap as well as one that's happening tonight. So I just want to kick things off with, you could say, not a great start to our campaign, resuming back from the international break. Yeah, we lost to Juventus, and I think one of the highlights of the loss was that we got a red card, which took one of our players out. It was a game that we should have won, didn't win, and yeah, just want to hand it over to John in terms of your thoughts, what you think went wrong, because a lot of people were saying that actually a lot of things went right before the red card, and we should have really taken away the 3 points. But let's face it, Juve isn't the Juve of old. What do you think, John?
So I think that when before we played against Juve, I actually said this was going to be our easiest game coming up. When I looked at the road ahead, Juve are they're the weakest team in terms of technical ability, in terms of goal creation, chance creation. They're not that good. They're just not playing good football. But one thing they do, and you can see on the tables, they defend hard. They defend a lot, and a lot of their games end up in 1-0 wins. And so the main thing for us was not to fall into this trap and to give them a sniff of a goal opportunity. Unfortunately, that move where I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but was it Weah? He turned Florenzi, because we had Florenzi as a left back. Weah went past Florenzi. Florenzi was turning like he was an oil tanker. And then he put a pass through to Keane, I don't know how you pronounce his name, actually. And he basically turned Chow, and Chow had a brain fart. And, it's one thing thinking, the ball's gone past me. I can't catch Keane. I'm going to grab him. But the other one is, if you're 1-0 down, even if you're 1-0 down, it doesn't mean that you cannot come back when you've got 11v11. You can come back. But he made a really stupid decision, and he grabbed the player. And I've got no arguments about the red card, actually. It was really poor. You can watch it over and over again, but it all started with Weah turning Florenzi like he wasn't there. And actually, I wasn't happy with the game. We were not attacking. We were not putting it onto them. We were really not creating a lot of chances. Remind me again, who started that game? Was it Krunic that started that game? Can you remind me?
Oh.
No, Krunic didn't start. You brought us a sub, and I want to speak about a specific incident later. But one thing I want to ask you, John, because I don't recall Chow making that mistake before that game. I think that's the first time he's made that level of mistake, and let's face it, it's quite a bit of a rookie mistake. But let's look at the facts behind it. Mirante is starting after so long, so he's starting that game. Had it been Manyan in goal, I wanted to ask you, do you think Chow would have let Keane go and let it be on 1-on-1? Because let's face it, everyone would be more confident a one-on-one against Manyan rather than Mirante. So
Oh,
what do you think?
I, I have to say, actually, guys, I want to make this point. I think Mirante did really well in this game. I think Mirante, for someone who hasn't started, and as you said, we did not think we was ever going to see the field. He actually did a really good game. He had to make several crucial saves at the end. Um, but yeah, that did cross my mind. Actually, that's a great point, Husney. It did cross my mind that the reason Chow did that is because of a lack of confidence in the defense. But I think all I'm asking the Milan fans to do is to just have a quick look at the position of Chow when that ball came through. Because, guys, there was no back line, there was no straight line at the back. He was way behind the other defenders. If he'd held his line, Keen, whatever you want to call him, he would have been offside. But because he ran with him, he kept him onside. And yeah, it's a good point, hasn't he? I think Mirante being in goal might have had something to do with it, but it does show a bit of how can I put it? You know, when you got a high press, we're going to go on to this, aren't we? Pioli's famous high press. He likes to push the entire team forward, the entire back line. So Tomori's way up there, even though he's the fastest player, and he likes to push the centre backs forward so that you leave a massive gap behind. That's all fine if everybody holds a line and a striker breaks that line, they're caught offside. The problem is if someone starts to go with them, they can't get caught. They're
And
gonna get
Yo,
they're gonna get in trouble. So yeah, good point on Mirante, but I think he actually equipped himself really well.
okay. So yeah, welcome, Andon. Thanks for joining us on the
I am
stream.
done.
We're talking about
thank you for
the
having me.
Juve game, and just to kind of do a recap about what's happened. So yeah, I think on that point about Mirante being, arguably man of the match, and I just want to ask Shane, especially when it comes to like this defensive errors that we are making, and coming back from the international break. John alluded, hinted a bit about it, about formation. But what do you think is the reason why we make these mistakes? Because had it been like before the international break, I thought defensively we seem to be quite solid. But I don't know why I think that game we made that mistake. This highlight, I think we played the offside trap. If that's what we tried to achieve, I think we played that wrong. What do you think that happened
I
defensively?
think yeah. So defensively, we are in encountering quite a lot of problems, right? I think one of the main problems for me is forget the formation or forget anything else. As good as Adley is at, being proactive, especially when going forward, I think defensively, I don't think he's the type of player that really fits for me in a 4-3-3. I think he's the kind of player for me that, especially maybe the lower sides in Serie A this season, I think he should come on. He can uh, find a pass, he can split defenses open. He's that kind of player. But defensively, I think we need someone that, provides a bit of added kind of coverage and protection. Someone maybe arguably that we've been missing since Kessie went, right? Um, so yeah, however, though, I think what's kind of concerning for me. So the Juventus game is one thing, right? Losing to Juve, it's not something that we're used to recently. We've tended to get the better of them. Had it been 11 versus 11, like you said, John, right? I think we're winning this game, right? I don't think that there just is a severe lack of quality in this Juve squad. Um, Chow doing what he did though, this is a serious error in judgment, and it kind of makes me more in a weird way. It kind of makes me more proud of the performances that Tomori is putting in for the most part lately, because he doesn't seem to be getting found out. He seems to be fairly solid. Seems to be. But yeah, just overall though, Chow bottled it. It's 3 points lost really, and yeah, it's kind of one to forget. And of course, the most unfortunate thing about this game was Locatelli actually scoring. What was it, 7 years to the day since he
Something
scored
like
that
that.
like banger against Juve?
Something like
Yeah,
that. This was
something like
definitely
that.
not banger though.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. But you can tell he's not a quality player, right?
Is banger by Krunic.
No, it
Oh,
was great assist by Krunic, but no. So you can tell though Locatelli's not a quality player, right? I mean, let's be honest, guys. If he's getting this excited about scoring against us, how long has he been with Juve now? What, 3 years? 2 years,
Yeah,
and
something
before that
like
he's
that.
with Sassuolo. I mean, come on, there's things that quality players do. They don't get emotional. You swear he scored in the World Cup final. Let's be honest. But anyway, that's a bit of indigestion. Anyway, and then I guess over to you. What are your thoughts on the Juve game, man?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the biggest problem that we had with that game, like every other game, comes from the man responsible on the bench. He made couple of mistakes, even setting up the formation to the uh, choosing the players. First of all, in defense, let's talk about defense first. Before the game, I was worried about Mirante. In the end, Mirante was our best player, so he was never the problem in that game. He did much better than expected. I don't think even Sportiolo would have that kind of game, especially in the end with the saves he made. But another thing is, Pioli likes his center backs to go high, but he made the mistake of sending Tomori going a little bit higher than Chao. Chao is not fast defender. He easily gets beaten by speedy defenders. And it wasn't just the red card. He a couple of times had problems with King, but this time the problem was he was alone. He was the last man, and he was beaten solely, and he made that mistake. And of course, the red card came. Also, after that, he lost some confidence, and we saw he starting doing the same mistakes in game after game. But uh, this is also because of Pioli. Because, for example, we have Pellegrino on the bench, and currently there is no competition for the center back spot. They're getting too lenient, and they're getting away with this kind of error. So they need to change that immediately. Another thing, if we move on to the midfield in attack, I don't know, guys, if you noticed or not, everything, how the style of play we play, everything changed after the Inter game. Before the Inter game, we played wonderful in midfield. So we played beautiful football with a lot of chances, and we scored goals. But after that defeat, as usually it happens, Pioli hits the panic button, and he changes things that he shouldn't have changed. For example, there was one very good analysis on Twitter that I read, which made me think. What he did is he made the side midfielders, Reindeers and Musa in this case because Ruben Loftus was injured, or whoever plays on the side, play them as a number six, both of them, and they're not number six. They don't have the characteristics to be number six players. He cut them off the freedom they had. Especially Rangers have been awful since that game because uh, he's getting duties that he doesn't have the characteristics to play like that. So again, it's up to him. And after the red card, it was just a question of time when we're gonna lose that game. It was a lucky goal for Juventus. Locatelli shoot the ball deflect. I don't know, we shoot on Krunic and he plays terrible, but it was just a deflection. It wasn't like something intentional or terrible. It just happened. Those kind of goals happen, and we didn't had enough, especially also uh, with the substitution in that game. He made every mistake. Every substitution he made was terrible. He didn't change formation in time. He didn't make the proper subs. We are going back to last season when the players were on the pitch and they didn't know what kind of position they play. They were just set on a position, but they didn't know how to play. Again, the problem always lies in Pioli, and the fact that we didn't score in so many games, even the game against Villanova, we scored one goal. We haven't managed to find the back of the net, and this is all up to Pioli limiting the team and what the team can do. So the the only way we can solve this problem in the future is just to change Pioli, because when he loses a game, especially like, he panics and he makes terrible mistakes. Uh, he needs, for example, now he needs. again, what they're gonna do? They're gonna call Ibra every time after we lose a game, so Ibra can give him some sense to the players. We cannot do that. So they need to fix that issue, and the sooner they fix it, I don't know if it's good to win or lose against Napoli, but I'm doubtful. Even if we lose, they're gonna change them. And the only way they're gonna change them if we already lose the season and we are terrible. We miss out on the Champions League, and that's not good because we're gonna have
Andon,
problems.
you you bring up a good point though, and you just reminded me. You've dredged up some awful memories. On that
Yeah,
first red card, when Chow got it, the first thing that had to be done correctly was the subs. And I think all of us were screaming and we said there is one player on that pitch who is static and needs to be taken off. And it would be much better to remove Giroud. And what does he do? He removes Pulisic, the player who has been scoring plenty of goals, drifting in from the right, connecting onto Leao's crosses, and he's removed. And actually, you're right. It was the subs that basically destroyed, bit by bit, destroyed the game for us and gave it away. And we actually said in the end, it looked like what he was doing was, I'm going to rest as many of my players as I can, give up this game for the PSG game. And we all said that's going to put a lot of pressure on him for the next game because he clearly gave up this game. There was no need to give up that game if you had just made the correct subs. And then, we'll talk about the PSG game next. But you're right. You reminded me of this, that the subs were terrible. They were really bad players coming in. Krunic came in for Adli, and we were all wondering why. And then Krunic was definitely not much ready. He was passing the ball straight to Juve players. I implore any Milan fans to go and watch highlights of their game. There are moments when Krunic gets the ball on the edge of his box and passes it straight to a Juventus player. It's kind of incredible. Did Pobega come on as well? Can you remind me?
yeah, I think he did
Yeah,
towards the end.
yeah. And then, am I right in saying you brought in Jovic?
Yep.
it's just unbelievable, guys.
I mean,
He
with
literally gave
Jovic,
up that game.
with Jovic, we were two men down. Especially two men down, you cannot do nothing. When you're a man down, you cannot put Jovic into the game because Jovic is even when he plays, he's not that type of a striker. You can only play Jovic when you have 11 players in the game. But when you're a man down and the striker has to cover for next to player, you put in Jovic. What he's gonna do? What? They cannot pass on the ball to him. Even if he gets the ball, what he's gonna dribble 10 players and score? No. I mean, we didn't even have to put another striker in that game. Just put somebody speedy instead of Giroud, or make a subs. Put Musa a little bit further up with Leao. Put somebody in that position. Just try to use your speed and strength. But he did a terrible mistake, Jovic. And since the moment Jovic came in, you're two men down.
Yeah.
And only thanks to Mirante, we didn't concede an extra 2-3 goals.
They were pounding on a goal by the end of the game. They
Yeah.
were literally pounding on a goal because we were two, as you said, at least two men down. Because to me, Krunic was not ready to play. He was really slow and behind the play, which made me think, what's he doing? He's warming him up, isn't he, for the PSG game? That's exactly what he was doing because he lined up against PSG. So, Hasni, you got anything to add on this one?
Yeah, I thought that in terms of our performances, we've conceded before, yeah. So we've had games where we've conceded before, but we've also found a way back. I'm trying to think is that had we had 11 players on the pitch, would we have turned the game around? Because Pioli could still have made the same substitutions, right? Let's face it, yeah. Like you're saying, I think that Krunic substitution was in the making because he wanted Krunic to start against PSG. So I'm thinking, had we even had 11 players, that goal might still have happened. It's the fact that I think our midfield is a little bit out of sync with our defenders. So we've seen how our defenders have pushed up, and I think when we speak about next game, we'll see what okay. Then when it comes to the organization of our midfield versus defenders, I think there's a gap there. There's quite a significant gap, and players are not covering each other, and that's leading to one-on-one situations, which we'll speak about PSG. But yeah, on the whole, I do blame Pioli. As everyone knows, I'm anti-Krunic, so I've been Krunic for most of it. Had he not been on the pitch, I don't think Adley would have been there. And Mirante might have been like absolutely amazing. And was that goal even on target? Maybe not. Yeah, maybe Mirante didn't even needed to have made that save. But yeah, I would, on a positive note, I would really question whether Sportiello continues to be our number two if Mirante can do that against Juve, which, yeah, Anton, you mentioned, you're right. Uh, Other goalkeepers might not have made a double save, yeah? It might have got in. We've been lucky on that front, but yeah, luck wasn't enough to at least salvage that 1 point. I mean, let's face it, going down by one man and playing 10 versus 11 and taking a point away, we would have accepted that. It would have been level points with Inter. But yeah, I guess we move on. Life moves on, yeah. So the next game that we had,
also another thing, these injuries, they just keep happening and happening without any specific reason. Now I'm reading even Kjaer won't be ready for Napoli Milan because of muscle fatigue, and he didn't even play like he played 20 minutes. From what? Muscle fatigue from what? So I don't know why they're not addressing that problem. This is I don't know what to say.
Yeah, but I know, come on, let's face it, that's an old issue. Yeah, we've had this question from a while back. I thought when they brought in that Croatian fitness coach, it seemed to have alleviated the problem for a while. But maybe the medical team are even making that guy injured. They can even make members of staff injured until that guy can't do the job. Maybe that's the reason. But yeah, the next game that we have is against PSG. And I mean, let's face it, yeah, PSG, they're a solid team. I know that they've not had a great run inside their own league, but the players they have within the team is pretty much stacked. So they can really produce the results had they been good. And let's also face it, Luis Enrique, who's their coach, his league's ahead of Pioli. He's managed much better teams and achieved better results. But yeah, John, I mean, could you even have said before the game that we had a good chance of winning after seeing how we played against Juve and what how Pioli lines up the team?
So I was in Italy for this one in Lake Garda. I found myself a nice little bar, sat down, and just absolutely, honestly, guys, I left after the 60th minute. I left because I was just feeling, I was having indigestion, guys. No, Hasni, in answer to your question, did I think we were going to beat PSG? Honestly, I did not, because pretty much every single fear I had about the lineup was true. It was like, why would you start with Krunic when he has not shown that he's ready to start? And yeah, I don't know, man. I'll tell you now. I again implore every single Milan fan to watch highlights of that game, because I want to. First of all, Shane, to your point about Tomori, thank God that he doesn't have to face a striker like Mbappe or a winger like Mbappe every week, because Mbappe made him look stupid on that first goal. It was like feint here, feint there, through your legs into the corner of the goal. Beautiful finish. That is a world class talent, and thank God that Tomori doesn't have to face that. That's the one thing that I kind of go, okay, all right. But you guys don't forget that Chow got a yellow card in 5 minutes. So he was suddenly, he was literally on tenterhooks for the entire game, right? And I was thinking, I think everybody was thinking, we're gonna get shafted here. We're gonna get a red card. And then Krunic got a yellow card on 7 minutes. Yeah, 6-7 minutes. So I just want to say, start with that as your level. Then on 32 minutes, the main man does, Mbappe does what the main man does. But we were once again playing a stupid high line, okay? And again, one thing I was pointing out when I was talking to, texting you guys, Hasni and Shane, they watch the PSG second goal. It came from a corner, right? And it literally, all our defenders were in a line inside our box. There were 3 PSG players completely free just outside. And all it took was Dembele to get the ball. Was it Dembele? Was that his name? I'm just trying to remember.
Colomani is the guy who
scored the second goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Colomani.
Yeah.
Dembele scored, I think, and it was like VAR just
It
canceled
was
it.
disallowed, wasn't it? It was
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
disallowed.
disallowed. Yeah, yeah.
But there was a goal from a corner, the second goal for PSG.
Yeah.
Basically, it came in, the player, a PSG player, took it inside the box. All of our defenders, guys, I'm not joking, watch it. It's shocking. All of our defenders ran towards the ball. All he had to do was square it across the box. And the guy literally was one on one with um, our goalkeeper. Now,
But
what kind of defending is that? I just need to
sorry,
ask. Yeah.
John. On that point, I think it was Tomori who kept him on side. If I remember that moment.
Tomori was near the goal line. Tomori was
Yeah.
near the goal line. He was
That might
literally,
have been offside. Had Tomori not been there, that would have been offside. Clearly
yeah.
offside.
If he had pushed on, that would
Yeah.
have been. But the problem is, Tomori was the last play. I think he was in line or behind our goalkeeper, Manyan. Right? It was. Just watch it. Honestly, it's really disappointing to see that literally a square ball across the box cut everyone out and left two PSG players to play ping pong against Manyan to put it into the goal. It's just when you see defending of that poor quality. The first goal, I'd say, listen, this guy's class. The second goal, it's all down to pure defensive. Just you wouldn't expect in a Sunday league a whole group of players to run towards the ball and leave the entire rest of the box on the other side empty. That's not acceptable. So this is where I kind of go, yeah. And then you say, the last goals because Milan was pushing or whatever. This is like a bigger problem, I say, guys, because I think it kind of shows if we go up against teams that have pace, if we keep pushing that high line as we are, we're going to get shafted every single time. It's just as simple as that. We simply are not able, with the tactics that we're playing, we're not able to go up against teams with pace with that high line. We're just not made for it. You're going to keep leaving defenders one-on-one against very, very talented strikers, or even worse, they bypass the defense and then they're up against the goalkeeper. So we're going to have to do something about it. Pioli has to, well, he has to learn. But the problem is, what do we know? He just will not take on any of these lessons. I also like to say, to me, Leao had a terrible game. He really looked disinterested, but he was the spear, the only thing that was going forward sometimes. And he tried some stuff, didn't work out. But, one of the comments I listened to Italian radio was, if you want to see Leao, if you want to see true quality, look at Mbappe and what he does constantly. He just turns on, bang, he's just killed you. Learn from that. Learn and watch. But Pioli, I've got to say, guys, in this game, it's just to me that should have been the end, because it demonstrated to me that he is so inept. And did you guys listen to the post-game interview? He said something quite shocking. Oh, up until the 58th minute when we went 2-0 down, we were doing exactly what we wanted. I thought, we were 1-0 down already, mate. How can you say we were doing exactly... Well, we really wanted to lose 1-0 by the 58th minute.
Slowly,
said-
though, we're improving, right? Because remember, for
He
Inter,
said
we were on
he
top
said
for
we are
6
better
minutes.
for 60 minutes.
60
He always
minutes.
says that.
That was it.
We are better
But
for
we were
some
better
amount of
against
time.
Inter for 6. So we're getting better.
I mean,
No. And then he said, one of the interviewers on the Italian newspaper said to him, against Chelsea in the Champions League before, we were totally outclassed home and away. Was this the same? And Pioli said, no. I felt like we could match PSG. Our squad can match PSG. This wasn't a case of being outclassed. That's what he said. All I'd say to you is, you might have been able to match PSG had you started with a strong formation. And last point I want to make, because I'm ranting now, I know, but it's made me so angry because I was in Italy to see this. It's horrific. When Adli came on for a good 5 to 10 minutes, this was also said by Italian media, it was like life has been breathed into the team. Suddenly passes were being made forward. Why on earth are you doing this to us, Pioli? You are selecting someone who is not match fit, really clearly not match fit, over someone who can spray passes, who has worked his way into the team and is performing better. But, and this is the last point I promise, Adli did show his lack of pace. On that last goal, he was burnt alive. So he is definitely not made to run backwards towards his own team. You should find a position for him where he's protected or he's next to someone who is capable of defending. He clearly, if he has to run back and chase the ball, can't do it.
But
So that's
John,
something news to me. Yeah.
sorry, in defense of Adley, I'm sorry, I'm a bit pro Adley here. So I think the mistake on the last goal was that they didn't anticipate the cutback and there was no marking on Lee. I thought that was so obvious what PSG were going to do, but yeah, everyone was just staring at the ball, there's absolutely zero awareness about who else is inside the box. And this is what happens. But let's face it, that game was pretty much put away at that point.
I think they gave up. I think they gave up on that last one because I was thinking, does Adley actually run that slowly, or is it that he's just jogging? I couldn't tell either way, but yeah, we were having this discussion about Milan Lab, and we'll talk about it maybe a little bit later on about how they check players' fitness status and strength and so on. I kind of think if you do testing like that, you would never select a player like Adley because his muscle mass. But Jovic would be selected because his muscle mass is much, much bigger. And it's more based on power, it appears to be. Again, go ahead, guys. Sorry for ranting a bit on that, but I was so furious with that game.
Yeah. So on that point, Shane, I just wanted to ask because, yeah, I also agree with John. The first goal, I thought that was pure class by Mbappe. I wouldn't have put any money on Tomori being able to, take the ball off Mbappe or like try to block the shot. But at 1-0 down, do you think we could have, or purely could have done something, and we might even have walked away with at least a point, or even possibly have won the game? Because okay, I think in terms of the stats, we had like 4 shots on target. I think maybe 3 of those shots were real shots. Yeah, I mean, Gigio didn't really have okay, maybe I can't say his name, but he didn't really have to put much effort in trying to save those goals. So he saved those shots. So what do you think? Was there a chance? Did we even have a chance?
I think overall, right, what this game was great to show us was just like the difference that it makes having a genuine world-class player on your team, right? I mean, the goal from Mbappe was, yeah, fair enough. I know, look, we sat back a bit and we did give Mbappe a bit too much space, but he still guided it in anyway. I mean, the guy is completely world-class. And I think counter to that, then we had Leao, who's invisible. So Leao, who's our best player, was completely invisible for most of the game. I know he didn't have as much maybe service as he would have liked. I think though these type of results, especially coming after, forget the Juve game again, it is what it is. But this kind of result after the demolition by Inter, I think it's just kind of ingraining the fact that Pioli's reached his ceiling. He's out of ideas. He's probably going to change it, right? At some point, he might even go to that 4-2-3-1. God knows who he's going to play in the cam at that point, right? Maybe Pulisic, have Chucky on the right. That's, that could functionally work because at least then we know that Theo and Leao would hopefully excel a bit more because we need our great players like Theo and like Leao to have good games consistently. And since this 4-3-3, we're seeing it less and less often. Theo has been invisible since pretty much most of the season. And he's too great a player for this to happen to. This has to be a problem with formation. Same with Leao. I mean, other than a couple of moments of brilliance, he's nowhere near as dynamic or explosive as he used to be. He's not a €7 million wage salary, like player for us. Which is a lot for us, right? So I'm starting to see, the same kind of constant problems. Very concerning. The thing is, I think we're trying to play in the Champions League the same way that we play in the league. And it's kind of, we're getting found out against better teams. So we need to change it. And the question is how. Um, I know. Look, we could make the we could say about the playing staff. Okay, well, look, we had Adley, and again, he was a bit slow playing in that PSP, playing in the game against PSG. Krunic came on, and it's like you said though as well, John. I mean, Krunic was nearly invisible. Now the thing is Krunic, for whatever people do say about him, he's very functional, right? He doesn't do anything flashy, right? It's not his job for the most part. It is just can be boring to watch sometimes because it's literally just pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball. But he does tend to recycle it fairly well, yeah. But when you see him completely invisible, it's like he wasn't there. I mean, I'm trying to struggle like to even think of a player that I could give a good rating to. Like everyone was useless. Um, I mean, Calabria came on like at some point, and ironically, when Calabria did come on, we started to show something. But this game just for me, it was just a huge, like it really made you understand the jumping quality of specific players. I'm not saying the team overall because I don't think we are um, losing to 3-0. I don't think there's that amount of a difference in quality between us and PSG overall throughout the whole team. But the players that they have, I mean, again, just going back to Mbappe, I mean, come on. Like, but Leo on his best day, he's probably still doesn't touch Mbappe. So for me, yeah, I think we're probably starting to come to the beginning of the end of the Pioli tenure. I hope to be wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be.
Yeah, and I think that we pretty much agree that the PSG game was a real disappointment in terms of what we're capable of. But just posing the same question to you: do you think that there's even a scenario where we might have been able to draw or even win the game? Because yeah,
No,
maybe.
because listen, we lost the game in the 6 minute point, 7 minutes when Kuni got the second yellow card. Till the 6 minute, you have one of your center backs and your defensive midfielder with a yellow card. You're limiting yourself in that moment because they cannot be as aggressive. They cannot go in for tackles. They have to play it safe, and because of that, they leave a lot of space open. So after that, you're just basically cut off. You really cannot do anything. That's why even Tomori had more troubles because he had to play more aggressively, even to cover for Chow, because Chow cannot go into for a tackle because he's gonna make a second yellow card, get a red. Also, also Krunic leaving that big hole in the middle of the pitch because also with the yellow card he's not playing good when he doesn't have a yellow card, but when he does have a yellow card is even worse. For the first goal, that's just a world class finish from a world class player. That's it. I don't care who the defender is in that situation. That's a goal. That's 100% goal because Mbappe is a world class player. He has been since 18 years. At 18, he was winning a World Cup, scoring goals. Mbappe is just a different kind of breed of a player, and there is no player currently that can reach for that level to go for it. Uh, when we talk about Leao has the talent. The talent is there. Nobody can deny that. But for Leao to grow and reach that level, that world class level, he needs a better coach. He cannot do that with Pioli on the helm because Pioli does one thing right. He can integrate a young player, give him chances. That player is gonna play very good for 6 months, for even a year. After that, we see the stagnation. We don't see any kind of improvement. That's in every young player that we have. Any kind of improvement, any kind of change of style of play they play, basically nothing. And another problem that Leo has is because we also you mentioned guys, Theo. Theo has been limited since after that Inter defeat, since Pioli changed everything. Theo has been limited to a more defensive role, and basically Leo is left to the game plan is again pass the ball to Leo, try to score, and that's the game plan. Sometimes it's gonna work. 90% of the time it's not gonna work because people learn they're gonna just close them and then what? We cannot do anything. Especially also in midfield because at the beginning of the season, both left and right side, they made triangles. They made, for example, on the left, the triangle was Leo, Reindeer's tail. We haven't seen that recently in the games. On the right, it was Ruben Loftus, Pulisic, Calabria. Again, we're missing that in those games. So, because of the limit of the coach, now There's like zero chance after those two yellow cards and after the first goal. Every single chance that we had to even draw the game were gone because there is no tactic and anything that we can do. And also, I said after the international break, after every single international break, we are terrible. I don't know what's happening. Either they're not preparing them after coming back from that, either they're forcing them. But and also we have a lot of injuries, of course. And I think they have to have a little bit better plan how to integrate, how to reestablish the player after they coming back from the international break. And this kind of these two losses, I was expecting them. Not gonna lie, I was expecting them. And now after this loss at PSG, the smartest thing that Pioli should do, but I don't think he will do, is just focus solely on the league. Because for us to go through in the Champions League, we need to win 3 games in a row. Is it possible? Yeah, it's a small chance that it's gonna happen, but the most likely scenario is we're not gonna win a game against PSG, Newcastle, and Borussia Dortmund 3 times in a row. I don't see that's just happening. So, in order to save the season and use from what we have, because this team is not built to win the Champions League, this team is built to win the Scudetto, and we can do that. Just focus on the league, get as much points as possible. We can forgive the loss against Juve, but we have to see a response today to get points today. Because if we lose against Napoli as well, I think from now on we can say we have zero chance of winning the Scudetto because it's too much. I don't think they can recover coming back from that. So I hope for a response today, and after that, focus on the smaller teams, beat them. Play the same style of play you played before the Inter game. You're gonna get goals. You're gonna get points. You're gonna get something. Focus on that. Leave the Champions League. Don't try to, for example, before the games we play. Let's say the next game is against PSG. Before that, we play against the Udinese. Don't sacrifice the Udinese game for the PSG game because there's small chance that even if you do that, you're still not gonna get anything. And in that scenario, you lose points against Udinese, and also you draw points against PSG. So again, Pioli needs to react, but as you said, I just don't see that in him. I just as long as Pioli is on the bench, we're never ever gonna see the full potential of the team and of the players, and that's also why Leao struggles. I mean, Leao is still the only one that is has even the potential to say with Theo as well and Mike something close to a world class player, but with Pioli is never gonna happen. Never.
Yeah, but on that point, and I just want to revisit one of the talking points that John brought up is that okay, let's put aside that purely leaves, right? Because that introduces another coach who has completely different ideas. But at this stage of the season, and I think that we are starting to see this bad form developing, or maybe has developed so early on. I think last year is that we were still, you could say, somewhat competitively against Napoli up until the January February time frame. And, we gen we historically are quite weak around that period of time. But now that it's become this early on and we started to have this issue, and I just want to go around and really ask everyone: do you think Pioli can turn it around? Yeah, not putting aside any replacement, but do you think Pioli himself can turn it around and take 3 points against Napoli today, and then restart our campaign in the Champions League? Because let's face it, it hasn't really started at all. I'll start with Andon. What do you think?
I listen. The hope is that he can, but the reality is that probably won't happen because we haven't seen Pioli to be a creative coach. He's not creative. He doesn't have a plan B. He doesn't have a backup plan. Once he makes the problem I have with Pioli is it happened since he's at Milan. One game, if he plays a terrible one game after that, he changes completely everything and confuses the players. They need like a longer period of time for them to go back to normality. And because of this, because I'm pretty sure now, maybe even tonight, if we lost points tonight as well, he's gonna change. He's gonna change the approach again. But what he does in those kind of he doesn't prepare enough to go from one playing style to another. Because I think if we lose today, I think it's very likely he's gonna go to a three man backline. I think that's very likely that we can see that. but he doesn't know how to prepare that. So again, also these injuries, the injuries are his fault as well. I don't think he can prepare the training sessions as he should. He's asking he's asking too much from the players, and he wants to play that Genio press playing style, which requires a lot of running, a lot of covering, a lot of physicality. We do have that now. We have some physicality right now, but if you overdo it, you have the same result: fatigue, muscle injuries, and that's why we are now, instead of now we having only Benasir missing, we have like 5 6 players missing, which shouldn't have happened. So I'm not quite sure that Pioli can turn this around, but I also think we can get points today. Maybe not a victory, but I think we can get at least a draw.
Okay. How about you, Shane? Do you think there's a way back for Pioli at this stage?
No. So the reason being is if you look at if you look at our performances last season, so um, as you said, so last season it kind of got to around December, January time, or was it January? Remember, we just kind of fell apart, and then we had we got hammered by the likes of
January
Sassuolo.
Lazio. Yeah.
It
collapsed.
was
Yeah.
Lazio, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, he hasn't recovered since then. I think what kept him going was a good run in the Champions League. All right. But I think in terms of overall form, I don't think Pioli has recovered substantially. Um, I think we said this quite a while ago, with the holy trinity of Pioli, Furlani, and Mancada, right? It was good in a way because it just means the three of those working more closely together means that if one of them were to fail, right? One of them were to fail, their heads would be on the chopping block depending on how it failed, right? This hasn't been a situation. I think Forlani did very well in the transfer window. Not perfect, but he did very well. Um, Still missing, key quality in a couple of areas, and that'll go hand in hand with Moncada as well. Moncada will have, has done quite well, I believe. So, um, yeah, I think this is all going to land on Pioli, and I don't think it's going to end up in a good situation. I don't think he has recovered, and I think as Andon said, we just need someone that's going to bring fresh ideas to the plate. Use the good talent that we have, because there is serious talent there. Teo is still a talented player. Leao still has bags of talent. Pulisic is showing that he has a lot of talent. Right, Reindeers, I hope will excel, come good. Tamori could still be good, solid, safe pair of hands, just like Moynihan, just like Chiao. We have quality there, right? But the thing is, it's just getting eaten away. So unfortunately, that quality is going to revert back, and we're just going to start regressing. And I think this is kind of what we're starting to see. So I think we
Okay.
just need someone with new opinions.
Okay. How about you, John? Because I mean, I think about it mathematically as well. Yeah. So this is a little bit like a quarter season review. So we've won 7, we've lost 2. If we were to apply the math to this, we could actually still scrape into the Scudetto. Yeah, it'll be tight. Because I think Scudetto decided like 84, 85 points like that. But do you think we'll be able to do it with Pioli on board?
So, I mean, my opinion obviously is that Pioli is very limited. However, historically, we've now seen him for several seasons. He's had moments like this when we've seen him on the brink and said, this guy's gone. And then we go on a run and we pull results out of a hat. The big difference this year is the personnel change. We no longer have anybody to shield the back four. So this is a massive, massive shift. Because we've lost Benacer, because we lost Tonali, we don't have a shield in front of the back four. So now the squad is built to attack. And actually, guys, in my opinion, the player we miss the most right now is none of the guys we've been mentioning. It's Ruben Loftus-Cheek. For a 4-3-3, the most transformative player and most aggressive attacking player that we had, and you can judge on the first games that we played, was Ruben Loftus-Cheek. He was a real revelation. But he came to us and we knew Chelsea had a record of injuries. We knew this was going to be dangerous. And the joke always is, you bring any player to Milan, if they've got any physical weakness, it will be found out either through training or Milan Lab. There's something being done there that is causing muscle injuries. And there's more to it than just saying this is a random injury that a player is getting. There are constant muscle injuries being picked up here. So, as Andon said, it might be the training methods that Pioli is putting in that is pushing players beyond, or it might even be the way Milan Lab is preparing players or assessing players. For any fans that think that Milan Lab disappeared years ago, it is up and running and alive and well today, although it's obviously not the same personnel of the great era Milan Lab that was first established. It's a completely different team. But
Just keep in mind, John, Jovic
yeah,
got injured during the
Jovic got
PSG game
on the
while he
warm
was
up, right?
warming up.
The
On the
warm up,
warm up.
yeah. Yeah.
But the
Like, this
assessments
is
thereafter have now
yeah.
found that he's got no physical injury. Okay, he's feeling a niggle, and it's caused alarm bells to ring. This is what I've read and listened to on Italian radio. He's literally felt a niggle, and it basically put a fear in the heads of all of the coaching staff, and they went, "No, don't go out there then." So he's had an
And
assessment, and the assessment says he's clear. Just
Yeah,
so
this
you know.
is. I think this is the sign of a player. If you're going to play PSG in the Champions League,
Hey,
Feel
you
like
know,
niggle.
ignore field niggle, ignore it.
I feel
Yeah.
niggle every time I want to go to work.
Because if it was Giroud would go. No, I'll go on.
What did we say? What did we say, guys? We said we needed Okafor in the Juve game. And it's like he came back from international duty, had a cut because of a car accident on his eyebrow. And kind of said, well, but you're on the bench. Surely you don't put people on the bench if they're not going to be available to play. You know, I remember as a kid, I broke my arm. I went to an Italian hospital and they said, I said, I can't walk in because what did you break? Your legs or your arms? It got me to stand up and walk into the A&E center, you know? It's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. You cut your eyebrow for F's sake. But then after the game, what came out? A muscle fatigue problem.
Yeah, this is
You know?
this is constant. They're like, what's this? This is like 751 days or something like that since
we had the full
since
squad.
since we've had a full squad. Like, so there's got to be some serious questions asked here.
There've got to be questions asked. Back to your original question, Hasni. Do I think that Milan can pull off a result against Napoli? I have the Napoli predicted squad in front of me. I'm not afraid of that squad. There's Raspadori and Cavara and Politano. That's the front three. They're an interesting bunch of players. They don't have extreme pace. They're not made to. They shouldn't burn our defense. So I think we could do them actually, but the Pioli factor is a strong one. And what will he pull off? Who will he put out? Will he put out Krunic again? He very likely will put Krunic out.
Yeah, I got the expected lineup on screen, so yeah, Krunic is one of them.
Expected lineup is Krunic on the expected lineup. Yeah, exactly. So I think we can beat Napoli personally, and I think Pioli has a way of escaping from certain, cutting. The guy genuinely doesn't care. Like, as in, he has no fear. He has been in his career. The Seven Sisters. Have you heard of the Seven Sisters? Right. So there's 7 Italian clubs that have one in Europe. So it's like the Seven Sisters. This guy has managed 4 of them. The guy has got an impressive CV in terms of who he's been to, but he has this thing where he goes up and then he goes down, and then they get rid of him. He loses the squad, and then they get rid of him. So I think Pioli will remain Hasni, but I think the reason he's doing what he's doing right now and apparently favouring the Champions League results over anything else, which they're not coming, is because of the financial impact of losing out in the Champions League group stage. And I think he knows from up top that if he gets knocked out in the group stage of the Champions League, they will likely cut him. So I expect Pioli to last until we mathematically are not capable of making it through in the Champions League. So I think the group stages are done before Christmas. Am I right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you
Isn't there
go.
not one in January? No,
No, the last
I
game I
think
think it's either it's in mid-December, something like that.
mid-December. Okay,
So as we say in
but you see,
Italy, no panettone per te, Mr. Pioli.
can you see them cutting them before the summer? No matter what happens, I can't unless it becomes like we're sitting in seventh.
Yeah, unless they
I
drop a
can't see
lot
him.
in the league. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
Even if he
I can't
drops
see him
out of the
cutting it.
Champions League, if he stays up in the league, they're not chasing him.
Yeah.
Pioli doesn't demand. Pioli doesn't question. Pioli doesn't
Why
complain.
change him?
He is exactly is what we said at the start of the season. We said he's outlasted Maldini for a reason. He's not a demanding person. He just goes with whatever is given, and he will absolutely not complain, no matter who you give him. But ultimately, he will keep selecting his
Also,
favorites.
Also, another thing, because Calabria spoke out after the PSG game, he said some things like I seen that was the first time that I saw a captain reaction. That's how a captain should speak. That's like a captain should require responsibilities from the player. But after the game, Pioli just cut him off. Just said misunderstanding, stuff like that. Also, I don't like that about Pioli. At least
Yeah,
Calabria was starting to show something that he has something to be a captain. And in the moment, first time he shows that, Pioli just cut him off.
you seem to indicate that someone wasn't, or some people were not training very hard. And Pioli
Yep.
just came in and said, "No, he's absolutely wrong. Everybody trains hard." And you think about that comment, and then you think, then why the hell are you putting on this player and this player? Why'd you put Jovic for 90 minutes suddenly? Why'd you put Krunic on suddenly for 90 minutes? It makes no sense whatsoever what you're saying. If everybody's working hard equally. Calabria might have been saying a truth,
Yeah,
but
I
he
think
was cut off.
that's the problem. And that's why after the game he said, no, that's not true. Because that's the only logical explanation I can see why some players are playing and some are not. And as you said, especially Krunic and Jovic. And also because they're from the Balkans, and that sometimes is a Balkan player mentality problem that they have, because I'm also from the Balkans, so I know how they think. Sometimes they're really lazy. Nothing you can say to them, nothing you can do cannot not make them lazy. They're just lazy. That's it. And even besides that, lazy training, still getting into the starting lineup, while you have players on the bench that really train hard and deserve a spot. And that's what a captain should say. When something is not wrong, that's why he is the captain. But after that, cutting him off, that means that even Pioli doesn't respect him as a captain. He's just there as a as a face.
Yeah. So
I want to ask a question on that point. Sorry, I want to ask a question on that point. Is Jovic our new Rebic? In that way, because
he's
Rebic,
worse. He's way worse.
Okay.
He's way worse, man. Rebic had moments when he was on fire. He was firing like he had a great shot on him. He did a job for a while, didn't he? You remember? He went through a
Yeah.
phase when he really did the job. Jovic has shown literally nothing. Like literally not. He is a younger
It's a
version of.
panic buy.
He is exactly.
It's a panic. Yeah,
We-
this is a panic move.
There was
Geez,
one
we've no
player
one
we
for the
were
striker
after.
position.
It was Taremi. It was not Jovic, but the Taremi, all of his agents and stuff started to ask for extra money when they got on the table, and it was like, that's too much for us, right? We're not going to take you. Imagine this squad with a striker like Taremi. It's just like the frustration is knowing, and then saying, "Oh yeah, we've got a fallback plan." And guys, remember as well, this season we were told that Pioli had a lot of a bigger say in the buys and in the players that we brought in. So whatever happens, he is the fall guy. Two things, in my opinion, he goes in January. In my opinion, he goes around January time. If the management, however, are just trying to save money, then he'll go in the summer. That's how I see it. But I think Pioli should be gone in December. That's what I think.
Pioli should have gone after the two games he lost last season, but how did he survive Sassuolo and Lazio? I still don't know to this day.
Okay. Some good talking point. Okay. Shane, so in terms of some closing comments, I mean, we spoke a lot about today about the games and future of Pioli. I mean, do you think just to close off the stream, do you think we can do it against Napoli today?
I hope so. It's not the same beast. They're not the same beast, right? That they were last season. I I think again, just to say about Juve, we were very unlucky, right? You know, just the way that it happened. Chow was stupid. You know, I think would any bit of luck we could have went on to win that game if we had the 11 players on the pitch, right? I think Napoli, yeah, a good strong test. It's going to be a very important game though because I think us losing to Juve, Inter, and Napoli essentially means that we're dropping points to the top three seed, the the teams in Italy that could easily finish above us in the table, which means that this is a big concern because it means that we've consistently shown that this is our ceiling and we're a fourth spot club. So I think we can do it. I hope we can. If we don't, though, this isn't looking good. It's not looking good at all. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to be positive.
Okay, well,
Let's
yeah.
go. Let's go.
We'll
Hopefully.
see the positivity for waiting the results. But until then, yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. And yeah, thanks, Andon, for joining us. And as always, John and Shane. Good to catch up once in a while. And to everyone else, Forza Milan.
Forza Milan.
That's amazing.
Italia!